I'm Jenna Ross. I cover higher education for the Star Tribune. I have always liked the idea of newspapers, and when I was 11 years old, published the Ross Report, which was a one-page newspaper dedicated to the happenings in my family. So that's kind of my first evidence that I had interest in this as a career. And in high school, I joined the high school newspaper, which I ended up loving and became the editor-in-chief, and did that for a couple years. And when I started to look for colleges, looked for those with journalism programs. So went to school for journalism specifically under a scholarship that also helped me match up with the Star Tribune and have an internship while I was in school at the Star Tribune. I did a couple internships at the Star Tribune, actually. I had one that was paired with a scholarship I earned, and also another practicum class that Chris Eisen ran that had student reporters in the newsroom, and that was the second opportunity I had to get to know the newsroom and for them to get to know me, which led to, after I graduated, a couple interviews with the suburban sections of the Star Tribune, and worked for the suburban sections for 2 years covering City Hall, which was fascinating, and then moved into the higher education beat, which I've been doing for a couple of years now. My day-to-day involves going to Century College in White Bear Lake, observing a classroom, getting a sense for what that class is like, coming back, transcribing my notes and interviews from that experience, making some calls, figuring out who else I need to speak with for this article that I hope will run this weekend. And hopefully by the end of the day, I will have the sense that I know what I need to get done to complete that article for this weekend. My job has changed a fair amount in terms of technology. I am not only thinking about the next day's paper, but also Twitter and blogs. And those are a daily part of my job. When I was in school, I expected to use video in my job, and I expected to use blogs and those kinds of things. But the idea of using Twitter for my job was something that kind of hit me unexpectedly 3 or so years ago. And it's grown into a reporting tool that I use on a daily basis, not only to find people, but to get a sense of what conversations are happening between faculty members and students and parents on a daily basis. Because I was so focused on getting a journalism degree, now looking back, I kind of wish that I had double majored, that I had gone into greater depth into other subjects in school so that I could now write about those subjects with more authority. I had a pretty one-track mind, and though I got minors as well, I now wish that I had, like I said, delved into something a little more deeply. And now when I think about continuing reporting, a big part of my thought process is perhaps going back to get a master's degree so that I can write with more authority and understand more deeply the topics that I write about. Because I'm constantly learning on this job, which is one of the great parts of it, but to have that sort of more intensive knowledge about one subject. I think specialization in journalism is really intriguing, and I think it might move more toward that direction in future years. I think the #1 class that I would recommend that I took was with Chris Eisen, his practicum with the Star Tribune. It gives students a chance to be in a newsroom and to write stories and work with an editor and get to know sort of the daily pressures of the job. And it gives people a sense very quickly of whether or not this is something they want to do. And if it is, it gives them the chance to really shine in front of people who could eventually hire them for jobs. So it was a big opportunity for me I was on the public safety desk, which is something I didn't have a lot of experience reporting on. It gave me the chance to do those kinds of stories, but also to pitch stories that I thought were interesting and were coming from a different perspective. It's tough right now, I think, to get started in newspapers. What got me noticed here at the Star Tribune through my internships and through even my initial years of reporting here were my abilities to tell a strong story. And a big part of what got me hired here were video skills, but I think what's kept me here and led to the job and the beat I have now is more about the writing and reporting than maybe I had anticipated. I think it's important for new students to really brand themselves and to show the variety of skills that they have, but to also know that at the end of the day, it's the reporting and writing skills that will lead them through this career. I feel a deep obligation to both the people I interview and the people who eventually are going to read my stories. And that obligation stresses me out on a daily basis. And I often wake up in the middle of the night wondering, did I spell that man's name right? And that kind of stress is both a continual challenge that I enjoy, but also a difficulty of this job. There's a lot to get right on a daily basis, both in terms of facts and then also translating effectively people's stories. And that obligation, like I said, stresses me out. I love talking to people about what they do. And higher education, which I cover, is such a fascinating place for those conversations. You're talking to students who are struggling to pay tuition and studying some things that they love, and faculty who are doing really exciting research, and administrators who are trying to sort of balance competing interests. And that part of this beat and this job is my favorite part. I also really like knocking on random people's doors and seeing what stories they have to tell. A favorite recent memory of mine was driving north to cover how the flood has affected residents there 2 months later. We wanted to get a sense of what rebuilding is still going on. And I went to this tiny town of Thompson and just started knocking on people's doors and started to chat with people about what they were doing and what they knew of other people doing in town, and heard the story of a man named Jerry Lonkey who was living in his garage still a couple months later. And so speaking with him and getting his story, and then speaking with other people in town, other residents, it was a great opportunity to sort of speak with normal people. I feel like sometimes on this job I talk a lot to administrators, but the chance and the opportunity to tell a story of sort of daily important stuff, but sort of daily stuff and daily struggles was a wonderful time for me. I really enjoyed that, and again, enjoyed the responsibility of sort of translating their stories for a general audience.